morning. Good morning. Robert Morillo with Team Aroa, powered by Compass Florida, license number BK3373543. What's going on, John?
Good morning, John Sepulveda, the origin point in MLS 1309244. How you doing today, man?
Doing good, man. Doing good. Can't complain.
If we complain, nobody listens anyway, so we might as well not complain, right?
If they listen, they're happy. They're happy I'm complaining.
That's a good thing.
So, yeah, man, excited for today's conversation and ready to get the day started after this.
Let's do it up, man. I did some research back to, what we talked about yesterday with the numbers on the small banks. It's $1 trillion that people have withdrawn from small and regional banks since the Silicon Valley.
$1 trillion?
A trillion with a T, yeah. So people remove the money from the small and mid-sized savings or bank accounts and put them into the big four or put them elsewhere. So that's $1 trillion so remember, right? Banks, they take the money, they keep 10% and invest the other 90, right? They buy bonds, they buy whatever, or they lend out money. Commercial real estate, mortgages, car loans of that sort, right? So those small and medium banks, if they take $1 trillion out of those banks and they put them somewhere else, they no longer have that money to utilize as in forms of loans, commercial loans, real estate loans, that type of stuff, right? Because they're out of that system and they put them somewhere else. So that's another issue that the small banks are dealing with on top of being illiquid.
So 90% of $1 trillion is 900 million.
Yeah, it's a trillion is 1,000
millions.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I just did 90% out of that trillion. They would have had 900 million invested.
It's a lot of money. It's a big number. I mean, and it's 3 weeks. You know what I mean? It's just boom, suddenly it's taken out. So people took the money out. The money was already invested in other things, and the people took it out. So that's where the crisis is. You see how I mean, it's a lot of money. That's just a lot of. It's obviously not just from one bank. It's from small and mid-sized banks, but that's just overall. That's a large chunk of money.
That is.
So that's there, right? It's that's brewing. That's kind of boiling. That pot continues to boil. The market is, people are, not really seeing the banking now. They're more focused on the inflation, and the market's starting to bet that the Fed's going to pause. That there's not another 25 basis point rate hike at the May 4th meeting, which he alluded to in the past. Last week he alluded to one more rate hike. And so the market is kind of betting on a pause. They continue to bet against Powell. Like he keeps on saying, there's going to be pain, there's going to be pain, there's going to be pain. And the market continues saying, he's going to stop, he's going to stop, he's going to stop. And he will eventually stop. Problem is he going to stop now, or is he going to do one more hit and really take a chance at damaging something major? So that's where the market is kind of standing. We got some data coming out this week that we'll see we should see some of that inflation data at the end of the week and see how that goes. But as I kind of explained in one of my early ones, the explanations last week, that this month's report for the housing data, it's still lagging. They're still counting the percentage that they're using for the PCE. The data from housing, it's lagging. Like the number that they're using that accounts for 43% of that entire report, it shows a really high housing cost, but that has been reducing dramatically.
So let me ask you something. If I have my money parked in the bank and it's FDIC insured up to 250,000, right? Question number one is, if I decide to pull my money out, where should I put it? Where should I put it, right? To make sure it's growing, not rotting. And number two, if I have $220,000 in a bank account, right, and it's FDIC insured, if that bank collapses, do I recover my cash or do I just not have access to my money anymore?
So FDIC covers everybody up to $250,000. So no
Mhm.
matter what bank, no matter where you're at, if you're covered up to
But
250,000.
how does that process look? Like, do I file a claim? Like, who do I go to?
I mean, I don't know exactly. I've never been through that with Silicon, and I've never really seen it before with Silicon Valley. Once on Friday when it failed,
Mhm.
the FDIC stepped in. They closed the doors and said, the bank is closed. We're taking it over. Friday morning after 10 o'clock, you will have your money available up to 250,000. Like
Got it.
that's instantaneous. Like I mean,
Gotcha.
usually when a bank fails, not usually. When a bank fails, it fails over the weekend. They don't let it. No, like go back
Okay.
in history and look at the
Gotcha.
failures. It's always on a Friday. They can't do it
Mm.
during the week because
It'll
it'll be
it'll cause
chaos.
chaos.
Right.
Oh my
So
gosh, I could only imagine.
right. So it's over a weekend. So this one happened over the weekend. And so and the statements like I mean you can go back and find it. I'm sure like it's there. I mean it was all over the place. The FDIC announced Friday after 10 a.m. 250. You'll have your money. Anything above 250, then it goes into the regular process of when a bank fails, which is they start liquidating, selling, and then they take all the money
And
and then they
recover
distribute it, amongst the
evenly.
people, whatever's left
Or
over, right? On
gotcha.
depending on how much you had invested, that percentage, you get that back, right? It's if somebody has $1 million, they're not going to get the same as somebody who had 50,000, 300, they got 250, now they have 50,000. You follow what I'm saying? It's based on how much you had.
Yeah.
They give you the percentage back based on that. Waterfall, I think
Yeah,
it's
I
called.
asked that question because that's a selling point for, or I guess banks, they have to mention it when you first open an account, but nobody really thinks about that.
Mhm. It doesn't really
Like
happen. It's only happened three
happening,
times. But it's only happened 3 times in the United States: Lehman Brothers in 2008 and Silicon Valley and Signature.
Mhm.
Those are the 3 times it happened. So, and we just had 2 in the past 3 weeks. So it's not like it happens all the time. So, but to the process is that on a Friday over the weekend over here there was nothing on Saturday, nothing on Sunday. Sunday, like at 6 o'clock, is when they came out with the announcement that they decided that they would cover everybody, which is kind of
Mhm.
the issue at hand is what I was talking about yesterday. Did you watch Who's on First? You go back and watch
Oh,
that?
not yet, not yet. I didn't go back.
So
No.
the whole Who's on First debacle, it's based because of that, right? Because so you're sitting there and say, okay, so is my bank covered or not? Like, do I get saved if my bank collapses? And
Mhm.
that's a big, nobody really knows because this, you know, Janet Yellen has not really said both yes and no. So that's an issue, and people are concerned about that. So it's messy. I mean, it's a moving situation. At least the data's coming out. Housing, it's still, property values, at least here in Florida, as we've been talking, they continue to show it's slightly but appreciating.
Mhm.
FHFA report came out yesterday. And slightly, but 0.2% year over year, pricing has increased, like here in Florida. Some
Yeah.
areas, San Fran went down 11%, but Miami's up 12%. Property
Mhm.
values, right? So as we discussed, I was just saying, I think it was yesterday, the day before yesterday, some areas, some pockets. The data came out yesterday.
Yeah.
When
Mhm.
I told you that was before the data had come out, and the report came out, and it's 11% drop in San Fran and 12% increase in Miami. So
Yeah.
you know,
No,
it's
no,
no
we're
housing crisis like
definitely.
2008, because in 2008 it was the entire country was under and upside down. Here is just pockets based on if you overpaid. San Fran makes sense. A lot of the tech and a lot of money, people kind of wanted to move out there, live there, but overpaid, and now they're upside down a little bit.
Yeah, but as long as they stay making money, they could care less about what their property is, because I'm pretty sure they have the intention of staying in their properties longer than people
No,
who,
not if they get,
are in
not
it
if,
for 5 to 7 years.
not if they get laid off. If they work for Meta, for Google, or for any other companies that are tech companies that are laying off people, then that's an issue. Like that's kind of what happens, right? People have to
Mhm.
sell, and that causes property values to go down. And I mean, you know the deal.
Yeah,
So that's where we're at
yeah,
on the
that world is crazy.
status of the market.
Yeah, we're starting to see your ability to predict the future here,
No, 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 not at all.
documenting it in the
I
process.
it's just reading. It's funny. Like it's like I wish now, like, obviously you get older and you mature, right? But I really wish that in 08 I was doing what I'm doing now. It would have been
Mhm.
so different. Like it just would have been so different had I known. Like I was just like everybody else. I'm in the market. But because it takes a lot. It really does take a lot
You
of
were
work.
only paying attention to what was right in front of you.
Correct. Because this is actually, I mean, I spend hours a day, literally hours a day, like reading and trying and seeing and listening and looking. And so it takes a lot of work to keep up with it, so, but I really, really wish I had I had been up to this in 08. At least I would have known what was like, I would have seen what's like, now I see what's happening. I could see it. I see the people on the TV, I mean, the media, man, it's just, it's insane how much bad
Mhm.
information is out there, and how many people, like, they go on these TV shows that are allegedly professionals, and they give so much wrong information. I mean, it's crazy. I listen to it, and that's like, well, like, that's crazy. That's not what the data says, and people
Yeah,
take
but
the.
it's they're puppets.
Yep.
It's all this
Yep.
theatrics and
And I don't know what the agenda with housing is. Like, I don't know why, what the agenda is with, like, just keep on claiming like there's this housing crisis and a housing crisis and a housing crisis, and letting people, just leaving people to believe that, the market's going to crash, and that these things are going to happen, and the properties are going to, and now could that happen? Absolutely. I mean, but there's no data points that show that, right? So, I mean, the things just don't happen out of the blue. Silicon Valley did not fail overnight. I mean, it did. Wednesday was fine, Friday was gone, but they've known about this. There was a report yesterday. The Fed, whatever his title is in San Fran, the Fed chair, and not Powell, but the local, in San Francisco, they knew
Mhm.
about it since February.
Yeah.
They were
Here's what
testifying in
I
Congress
believe.
yesterday.
Here's what I believe. And it may be an unpopular opinion. Okay. The housing agenda, the way they're spreading the message, and the reason why, even though it might be contrary to what the actual data says, is because it's what people pay most attention to.
Yep, you're right.
So you gotta uh I guess package the message in a way that will be received, and whatever people are paying attention to, that's how you keep control.
Mm-hmm.
So
Well, it's not, yes, I mean, 100%, that's how they do it. But then what the funny thing is, recession, right? Now, if you take the word recession, they've been, they've been talking about a recession since last year, right? And I don't know if
mhm,
you recall last year. So a recession is when there's negative GDP growth 2 quarters in a row.
mhm,
That's what the definition of a recession has always been, right? Economists say if there's negative GDP growth 2 quarters in a row, then we have a recession. And since last year, it's been right. So, but the data, they've been kind of fudging the data. Like you don't really see the data. Like it's last year was technically it was, and then the White House came out and started changing the rules and saying, well, it's technically it's 2 quarters in a row, but unemployment has not gone down, so we're not in a recession, right? So we have that. That's been the dialogue that's been going on, right? No recession. And then Powell, Yellen, everybody, the president, everybody was no recession. Everything's fine. There was an issue with him, last year. He was eating ice cream, saying how everything wonderful. The economy, remember that? Like the economy was wonderful and everything's wonderful, right? Then they started saying it's going to it's transitory. Inflation is transitory. It's no issues. Don't worry. Transitory. Like that's the word. And everybody, all the media was transitory, transitory. Then it went to soft landing. Oh, it's staying, but we're going to have a soft landing. No recession, soft landing. Soft landing means it's going to be easy. Nobody's going to feel anything. Then, if we got 11.5%, whatever inflation was, and suddenly, whoa, we got to get inflation to 2%. Oh, I got a story about the 2% in a second. Remind me to tell you that.
Okay.
Remind me that so I don't forget. So, they said they came in, it's soft landing. Now it's inflation. Now we got to cut inflation 2%. If we got to cut it. And they started raising rates, right? That's where we're at, now. So now they're saying if you start the Fed in the press conference, the projection for GDP at the end of the year, you know what the Fed's projection, like if you look, that's a document, it's out. It's the Fed, what their projection for GDP at the end of the year is 0.4%. Okay. Right now, I believe it's 3.4 GDP.
Okay.
So if right now it's 3.4 and at the end of the year, the Fed is predicting 0.4, what does that mean?
That it's gonna drop dramatically.
Like this, from now until the end of the year. Like from
like a 90-degree drop on a roller coaster.
Backwards, right? Because it's at 0.04 and 3.4, the GDP, that's what measures a recession or not. So the Fed is saying at the end of the year, the GDP is going to be like nothing, almost like 0.4. I mean, that's basically zero, right?
Yeah.
And then that could be
for the viewers that are listening out there that don't know what GDP is. Give them a general description.
Gross domestic product. And that's basically, I mean, and that would take a whole, but it's basically when you take all of what the country imports and exports and produces, the gross domestic product, and that's just the measurement that economists, use to determine the size,
the value
of the economy of a country is going. So growth,
the
right?
Value of those services and goods.
Correct. That they stuff that they manufacture, imports, exports, and just the gross domestic product. It's the basically the entire economy. What it did. Did it grow? Did it shrink? What the changes. So that's how they measure economies. That's how they measure, a recession, right? But it's great to know of recession, but recessions usually a year after it's passed, they said, oh, we were in a recession a year ago, and the recession's already passed.
So retrospectively, it's so okay. Let's talk about the speed of things, right? Let's just say you just said 3.4 to 0.4 or whatever the number is. We might describe it as a sudden drop, but it happens gradually over the course of a year or two.
Exactly. Not a year or two, but it happens over the year, right? It's throughout the year. But the point is, they're saying no recession, because they don't say it. The Fed does not say recession. He doesn't say that. Now, if you look at his comments, if you read his or listen to the press conference or you read the transcript, it's full of clues. He said, the Fed said in his speech or press conference, banking is going to get tighter. Lending is going to get tighter. He said that, like, we can expect that lending is going to get tighter. What does that mean? That means that lenders cut down on the lending that they do. Why do they do that? Because they don't have money to do, because the rates are too high and the banks don't have the money to lend. I mean, they say all the information, but you just have to read and piece everything together to be able to understand what they're saying.
Exactly. It's a matter of paying attention.
Which brings me to the 2%. I just thought it's an interesting story, because how Powell always says 2%, we want inflation at 2%. That's the magic number, 2%. Okay, where does 2% come from? Like, where does that number come from?
Let's go back to 2% interest rates.
So they always, not correct, but no, 2% inflation.
Yeah, I know. But that's what I'm saying. The whole 2%.
Well, the problem is that
when interest rates,
when you have that's what caused inflation. Because when you have the rates that low, it's free money, because the banks have money the banks are paying zero interest. Like, the money was free for the banks. So that generates a lot of cash, and that's what causes inflation, right? There's got to be a balance in between that, right? And that's the point. The interview I watched was regarding this precisely, right? Kind of what causes this and how the Fed does everything too long.
Mm-hmm.
They eased too long. They put money into the system for too long until inflation got out of control, and now they're going to tighten too long. They should have stopped maybe 2 cuts ago. They should have. If they not stopped it, but they should have paused to see what the effect is. Because they're like, you know what the Fed is.
When we had the lunch lines to the open houses.
I mean, if you can't stop, but
Suddenly,
it's like you go to the gym, right? I mean, you sign up, New Year's resolution, you go to the gym January 2nd, like everybody does, and you start working out. And then on January 4th, you wake up and look yourself in the mirror and said, oh no, I haven't lost any weight. I'm going to stop going to the gym. This doesn't work. Like you got to give it time to work, right? Whatever you're doing. So the Fed is just cutting and cutting and cutting and cutting every month. And there's not enough time to, for the economy to all that to maneuver, which is why it's a lagging indicator, right? That's like housing is lagging the data. So they're not using the real data, they're using the data that's past. So that's what I mean when, when I say he's driving forward, looking at the rearview mirror, because he's looking behind, but he's going forward. So that's going to cause, that causes something to break. But anyway, the 2%, the way they came at 2% is when Alan Greenspan was, and these are the minutes, like these meetings, this is from, like they showed, I actually, in this interview, the minutes are there, right? I didn't see the meeting live, obviously, when I wasn't paying attention when Alan Greenspan was but the transcript is there and you can read it. They were having a conversation trying to put a number like on inflation, and they were trying to put a number. And Alan Greenspan, and I'm paraphrasing, right? I don't recall the entire, but I'm paraphrasing what he said, and he basically said that really inflation in a perfect world should be zero, should be a 0%.
Absolutely.
But that's obviously not something that's doable and whatever. And they were pressuring him to put a number on it so people would know. And he said, no, well, you can't really do that. You shouldn't do that. And somehow there was a person who was on that committee who, and it's the transcript, who is the one that kind of initiated the conversation and suggested that they put a number at 2%. You want to know who that person was? Janet Yellen. Same lady that's in there now. She's so they took, it's the thing. And then Alan Greenspan says, this shouldn't go out of this room. That's good. Because he knew if you put that number out there, like people like at 2% and they would be obsessed with it. And she is the one, like, it's the same person. Like now she's the secretary. She's in the Fed. She's in, she's the Secretary of the Treasury. I mean, it's the same agenda, 2%. So Powell it's 2%. Like Janet Yellen is the one that used that number way back then and put 2% on it. So, and today in 2023, they're trying to get to this number 2%. Now, is 2% a real number? Is it a real number? We don't know. I mean, it's a number that Janet Yellen said, oh, let's do 2%. Oh, great. It's a great, and oh yeah, let's go with it. I mean, it's insane that they're driving the economy of the world, right? Because the United States influences the entire world based on a number that, I'm sure Janet Yellen has some, she had a reason to throw that number. There's got to be a reason for the madness, right? I mean, she's a highly educated woman and, right? So there's got to be a reason in her mind why that number is. But my point is they're making decisions on the entire economy based on a number that she kind of just threw out there. Yeah. Not based on like real data, right? So is 2% a real number? Is 3% better than 2%? You know what I mean? Like, so the point is he's saying there's going to be pain. We got to get to 2%. He's got this 2% thing on his mind, and maybe 2% is utopia. Like you can't have 2%. It's got to be 3%. Like, you know what I'm trying to say? It's
yeah. Like
they're driving this bus.
You're trying to create a perfect world where it doesn't align with what's actually happening.
And the cause, like the cost of getting to that 2%. I mean, a recession is devastating to a country, right? People lose their
Mhm.
jobs. I mean, that's just what a recession is people lose their jobs. I mean, it's a devastating thing. So when that starts hitting and the layoff starts coming, I mean, he's going to cause, and he's been saying, I mean, if you go back and watch his meeting, every single meeting is going to be pain. You got to be prepared. There's going to, I mean, the guy's saying there's going to be, this is the same guy that's not saying we're in a recession. He's just throwing the number 0.4% GDP at the end of the year. We're at 3.4. So, you know, nothing to see here, right? Everything's good, but yet there's going to be pain because he's saying there's going to be pain. He's saying, oh, there's going to be, there's going to be tightness in the market, lending, banking industry. The people took $1 trillion out of small banks. Like, it's a big number. They don't really publicize that. People don't
That's
really
a
know that.
huge number.
It's an
That's why
insane.
I had to pull the calculator out to do the math.
It's crazy. It's crazy.
If I'm a small bank, I'm looking at my numbers. I'm like, what is this?
But people don't know that.
So,
And then you got the investors who don't really, because now you have all these, back in the day, even in 2008, the market was, it took a lot of work to invest in the market. Like, you had to do a lot, open up these accounts and do this. Like, it was tedious. It took a lot of work for you to start investing in the stock market. Today it's just, they have these websites that, you sign up, it's a free account, you connect it to your checking account, and you're a stockbroker. I mean, you know what I mean?
Exactly.
I can totally,
literally.
I mean, the Robinhood is one of the accounts, right? My son, uses it. Like, you go in, I mean, I can go in and become a stockbroker, and I don't know anything about stockbroker. I don't know anything about anything. And I can start investing, and I got my money, and I start, the banks, they're coming back. They're going to save them. And I start putting money in the banks. Meanwhile, people are taking $1 trillion out. I don't know that. I don't see that data. And then 2 weeks from now, the bank is wiped out. Oh, I lost my money. Oops. It's like that. That's how people lose money, because they get into this game and they don't know how to play the game.
What's going on? Yeah.
So anyway, sorry. I ranted a little bit about, but I get a little excited talking about it, as you can see.
Yeah, no, for sure.
I just thought that 2% thing was a gold nugget. Like, that was probably like, wow, that's incredible. I got others. I got some other stories that, oh God, I could.
I would definitely appreciate a study session, like before we have these talks, to see kind of like what is your study flow when you're looking into the market before you go into these discussions, because it's one thing to, like, after you experience what you experienced in 2008, then that event or series of events causes you to, like, start looking into things, right? But now you passing information along to others, it's like, how do you teach someone how to study the market who has never gone through that type of trauma,
Yeah, I mean,
if you call it trauma, maybe trauma is a negative word, but through that experience, that life
experience, it's stressful experience, let's call
it. Yeah.
Because you can have fun and have it still be a stressful experience. So, you can go down the roller coaster and have a lot of fun, but it can still be stressful when you're going down. So call it a stressful experience.
Yeah. I mean, if you think about it, people go on roller coasters every day, and the scariest part also happens to be the funnest part.
You don't want to be doing that with your money, though, in your future.
We want to apply that to learning.
Yeah.
We want to do that with the learning process.
There's people that, people that are retiring, people that are, 10, 12 years from retirement, who have a 401k, who, had 250,000, 300,000, and now it's, 150, 160. And,
and it just doesn't make
wiped
sense.
out. And that's their future. Like, that's their retirement. You know what I mean? And because if you do the math, right, you talk somebody who's been working for 25 years, and Social Security is going to be $1,300 a month.
And that's what's scary. I feel bad when I see those older folks working at Publix, bagging groceries and things like that,
And
because it's
and
like,
and,
man,
and it's
you be on the beach sipping pina coladas.
well, I mean, I mean, it's insane, right? And until you have because the sad part of it is you don't really think about this until you're there, until it's too late, right? So a person works, like I said, I'm helping some people out, working 20 years, and there's
Mhm.
still some years for same company, just doing their thing, working every day, doing the thing, and they have a 401k, and they got this, they got everything. But Social Security is now we're doing the exercise, and how much are you gonna get? $1,300 a month,
And your
and
lifestyle
and
demands
and your life, and then
3,500.
and I mean, so if you take Social Security, and you get 1,400, right? You're between 16 and 20 grand, right? Somewhere in that neighborhood, depending. Obviously, Social Security depends how long you've earned and whatever. But just say like you're not on the high end, which is about 30,000 a year for Social Security, like the max benefits. So say somebody that I think what I see for the most part is like average, right? 18, 20
Mhm.
grand a year. You can get, so if you get, 20 grand a year from Social Security, and you get 40 grand a year from your 401k, 60K a year, a married couple, both getting the same thing, you can live off that. Like that's comfortably, right? It's pretty, you can live off that comfortably with 60K. And let's say the husband has got 20 and a 401k, so 20 from
Assuming
social.
assu- assuming things don't get more expensive, yes.
But yeah, let's just say everything's perfect, right? And nothing, so the husband has 20K in Social Security, the wife has 20K in Social Security, and the husband has a 401k with 40,000 a year. That's 80 grand. A couple can live on 80 grand a year, right?
Yeah.
The problem with that math is that to get the 40 grand a year from the 401k at 4%,
Mhm.
modest, right? Nothing crazy, just 4% a year. How much you need in the bank to be able to get that, to get 40,000? You need $1 million. At 4%, you get 40,000 a year, right?
Mhm.
$1 million.
Mhm.
So if you got to save up $1 million in your 401k at 4% a year, you get 40K a year. That's perfect. Like that math right there. And that's how they set up, the picture of the 401ks. That's how they set it up. So people, okay, Social Security, I got a 401k. My company matches this. I max out my 5%. My company puts 5. Oh, beautiful. I'm going to retire. And they don't really pay attention to that until they have to start doing the paperwork and figuring out. And they realize, okay, I need $1 million. Oh crap. I have 200,000. I don't have $1 million.
Mhm.
So, I mean,
Yeah.
you get 40,000 a year if you have $1 million saved up. If you don't have $1 million, and it takes a lot of work to
Mhm.
save up $1 million. It doesn't happen in, overnight. You could definitely do it if you start at 18, 20, putting $100 a month. You can absolutely will have $1 million, over $1 million.
Mhm.
But not if you start at 55.
Yeah, exactly.
You have 200,000 and you got to get to $1 million, and you're 55 and you want to retire in 10 years. You're not going to make it. Making 40,000 a year, you ain't going to get there. It's just the math doesn't get you there. So
No, you got to
that's
get
the
into sales.
But
For
that's the scary
sure.
part. Then that's when you see somebody who's retired working at Publix because
Mhm.
they didn't do the math. They thought Social Security was going to be enough, or they thought 401k is going to be enough. They didn't do the math, and now they find themselves there. Because 401k is not a retirement tool. What
Mhm.
401k is supposed to be is just it's an addition, like an extra.
A
It's not
supplementary
it's
tool.
not it's a supplement, right? It's not the retirement tool, just like Social Security is not the retirement tool because it's not enough. Back in the day, companies had pensions, and
Mhm.
so they had a pension, and that doesn't exist anymore. So people are on their own, and they haven't the majority of people haven't clicked that. They haven't thought about retirement until they get there.
Mhm.
So anyway, let's talk about
Let's talk about smart homes.
talk about smart homes.
No, no, no. That really took up a lot of the conversation, a lot of the time that we have. But the future of smart homes, and what's next in real estate technology, right? Yesterday, were you at the statewide sales meeting in Winter Park yesterday, the virtual one?
I wasn't on the meeting. I got there. They were finishing up by the time I was able to get there, but I wasn't. I talked to one of the agents talking about AI and
Exactly.
technology, and yeah, and
Yeah.
that's the future, man.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. So let's go over a couple of I guess you could say smart and or if energy efficient features that you
Please,
utilize.
yeah, please include the energy, because the technology. I have the saying that, when the good Lord was giving out the talents and technology, I was late for that session, and I didn't get my I didn't get my share, because I am completely just. It's sad, my stage of knowledge of technology and use of technology. So it's
Well,
sad to say.
at the very least, you know how to schedule Zoom meetings, right? And utilize an iPhone.
Yeah,
So at the very least,
yeah.
and
That's where I stopped though. Get me to a get me to a like. I'm like you ever see the reels? Like there's like a grandma. They show her like Italian grandma that they're showing her how to like do Google and the voice, and she's
yeah.
like Google, like that's how I am. Be like, hey.
Well, all right. So we spoke. There was one episode last week where you had mentioned like when you look at your electric bill, and you're like your reaction to it is like, oh, I got a credit from the electric company. So talk to me about um solar, right? Let's go briefly over solar, and how your panels work, the benefits of it. Did you purchase your home with solar already, or is
No, I bought. So I mean, I really believe in this, right? And unfortunately, um, this is a subject that has become politicized. It's
that has been
unfortunate.
become what?
Politicized,
Politicized. Oh yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah.
And it's an unfortunate thing.
Politics have a major impact on it. Yep.
Say what?
That politics, they have a major impact on
Oh,
it now.
100%, because we have a current White House, and the party that's in the White House wants to ram this green energy down people's throats, and
Mhm.
people are not reacting well to that. I mean, you don't really react well to that, and you can't. This is not a political theme, right? Subject, but just in general, you can't really say, okay, the world's going to end because we're using fossil fuels, so we need renewables. Okay, great, but we can't say, okay, today we got to stop the production of fossil fuels because the entire world revolves around fossil fuels. So you can't just stop overnight, just from one day to another. It's just not a practical thing.
Mhm.
And all this stuff that's happening with green, I mean, it's there, but all the hype and all the stuff and fossil fuels are going away. They ain't going anywhere. Warren Buffett it's in the process of acquiring, like, going to do a takeover of an oil company in Texas. We were talking about
Mhm.
Warren Buffett yesterday. What he does, and
Yeah.
then he owns the rail, like he invests in the things before they happen. Well, he's about to take over a big oil, petroleum producing thing. So if Warren Buffett is putting his money into oil, it means that oil is not going anywhere,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
So, but the problem is that they're trying to shove it down people's throats, so people are refusing, like they just don't want to listen to it. Became a
Mhm.
political thing, and I didn't know anything about
That's where
panels.
the incentives kick in
But
to do solar.
even with the incentives, people are
Are
just
not as receptive.
they don't want to listen to it. But solar panels, forgot about it. I don't want to. It's like the mask, like the mask mandates, right? It became a political thing.
Mhm.
You wear a mask
Mhm.
from one party, you don't wear the mask from the other party. Like, it has nothing to do with politics.
Yeah.
It's your health, and if you believe you want to wear the mask, wear it. Great. It's not
Yeah.
if
Can you
you don't want to
breathe?
wear it. But they made it a political thing. It's just that's how it. And so panels and renewable, it kind of became that, right? But so my experience is I didn't know anything about solar, like no knowledge whatsoever. And I started doing some research on it. And when I moved here, when I bought my house here, I put panels on. Now, when I put the panels on, the person that kind of got me through there wasn't really good. Like he could have done a lot more, but he kind of stopped, So I was 25%. I was producing about 25% of the energy I was consuming.
So you closed on your home, moved in, and then had your solar consultation.
And then I did the panels, correct. And then, you know, I
Mhm.
kind of did the research. I saw the electric bill for the past 12 months. I kind of did the math, and the way I, you know, again, just because of what I do for a living, I do numbers and I do math, and I'm like, okay,
Analytical,
well,
yeah.
I'm not paying the, you know, and basically what I transferred was I split my payment. Is really what I did. I didn't cost me
You
anymore.
didn't,
I split my payment, part to the electric company and part to the solar panel.
and
And
one was a steady payment, the other one was fluctuating
it's
based on.
fluctuating because energy costs are going up. Exactly. But I basically split my bill. It's really all I did. So
Mhm.
now then I, you know, kind of continue that process. Last year, when the market started kind of turning in March, so a year ago, before things kind of started going this way, I spent the whole pandemic like studying and reading and seeing, so I could see the data and I could see the numbers. And one number I'll tell you, I was completely wrong. I thought it was going to be, I thought it was going to happen by Christmas, and it didn't happen. I thought we were going to be back at $5 a gallon for gas at Christmas. This was a year ago when I did this. So in March of last year, I put in an order. My wife's car and my car, and I switched both of my vehicles, and I put an order in for 2 electric vehicles.
Okay, which ones did you get?
I got a Ford Mustang Mach-E.
Oh wow, both electrical.
Yep. So
Nah.
I put the order in March. I didn't have any. I didn't get my cars until December. But in March, I'm like, I'm doing this. Like, there's no, like, we're going to be at $5 a gallon. And we are going to be $5 a gallon. It's just going to happen a little bit later. It didn't happen in December, but we are going to be at $5 a gallon. Yeah. But I mean, that's what led me to kind of decide that. And then when I did that, okay, let me do some more research on panels. And
How many miles are you getting per charge?
Between 250 and 265.
And are you charging your vehicles at home?
Both of them.
Okay, both of them. So you have a charging station inside your garage.
I have 2, one for each car.
Okay.
Cost me $750 to do the 220 outlets, 220 outlets, and I charge both cars. So, but let me just finish. So when I did the cars, I also completed. I got the rest of the panels, so I have enough panels to cover my consumption. So I went from splitting the bill to just pretty much getting rid of. I can't get rid of the electric bill because you got to have a basic like $15 a month thing that they charge you. So it's not electricity; it's just you got to have it. So I still get that $15 bill, but the consumption part, I pay it all for the panels now.
Gotcha. So, because what you did was you redid your panels to cover the entire. Like, what does your electric bill look like these days?
$15 charge for my $15 charge for my let me show you. I can. I got to find out. It'll take me too long to find it. I can bring it up tomorrow. I'll show you. But the $15 charge.
Okay, so at first it was 25% for your solar panels, as far as the coverage of the electric on your home, right?
Correct.
And then did you revamp it to cover?
I added more panels because I didn't have enough. I mean, it's just a matter of adding. I didn't have enough panels the first time. Like I said, the person that was the guy that was advised, he wasn't really like, you know, he got me there, but
he wasn't a salesperson.
Nah, he didn't get me there. He was just
in training. So did when you went to get your to add more panels, did you go back to him?
No, my son actually got into the solar industry, and my son sells the panels, so I got them from my son. So he was the, you know, so it was a, you know, a different process. I got the information, but the information's all there. I mean, I had a lot more access to a lot more information, obviously, because my son, you know, it was involved. He lives at home, so you know what I mean? I just had a lot more access to the information.
That was some in-house
service, yeah. But
intended.
And it's, I mean, so I don't have an electric bill. I don't have an electric bill.
Virtually, you have no electric bill.
There's no cost for electricity, and I'm charging 2 cars, so I got no
electric. But even with you charging the vehicles, you're not getting charged. Instead, you're getting a credit from the utility companies, right?
Correct.
Because now you're storing enough power to allow them to use some of your stored power,
Correct.
right?
It's been small. Like it's not tons, right? You know, it was 750 the first month, 1 month, 450 the next. I
I
mean,
mean,
it
yeah,
just,
you're not getting
it's
rich off of it.
consumption. And I'm sure that during the peak months of the summer, if it's really hot, you know, we'll see how, you know, how that goes. I may have to dip into a little bit out of like pay, you know, I might use some because I keep my house cool. I don't like to, you know what I mean? I turn my AC, you know, it's always cool and whatever. So I utilize the AC anyway. So, and I have 2 cars that I'm charging and the cars are getting used. Like, it's not like you know, the cars are getting charged, you know, it's constant charging and but I mean, it feels, it driving past the gas station and seeing people in, you know, paying for gas. And I mean, it's a thing that you just, it feels so good not to worry about it. And I'm telling you, it's coming back. I mean,
Have you ever
starting to go up.
pulled up? Have you ever pulled up to a gas pump out of purely out of habit?
No, I go into the bathroom if I need to go in the bathroom. I'm like,
Yeah.
just kidding. I'm just going into the bathroom.
Yeah,
Oh,
yes,
I mean,
yes.
we kid, but I mean, paying $5 a gallon for gas, man. That's painful. That's just,
No,
yeah.
forget about that. Going into the pump, the time that it takes to do all that, I mean, forget about it. It's not worth it. It's like once you go electric, you don't want to go
Oh,
back.
yeah, so, but unfortunately, people don't really experience that. And
Mhm.
there's a lot of, like, you know, as you know, as we've been talking about, you know, Origin Point, we're starting to get into, we're going to be doing 2 or 3Ks.
Okay,
So
yeah,
what I'm going to
I
start
am.
offering, buyers, what I offer now, like, you can get, you know, $2,500 they can add to your FHA loan. You can add $2,500 and they spread it over 30 years for energy improvements, like off the bat. Doesn't matter if you, like, you don't have to do any extra qualifying. You don't have to do anything extra. You get the quote or the receipt for what it costs, and you
Mhm.
can build it into your mortgage up to $2,500. I mean, it's not
And
huge.
you're saying this is on FHA naturally, not 203K.
Yeah, FHA, regular FHA.
Are you serious? I didn't know that.
I'm dead serious, man. Yeah.
Up to
Come to me, man.
2500.
I'll give you the info, man. That's where you're gonna come to me. Yeah,
Right, right, right.
2,500. No, doesn't they put it into they add it to the loan. So
Mhm.
it's over 30 years. You know,
Yeah.
it's just, I mean, and you can do, I mean, 2,500, you're not gonna do much, but you can do an energy efficient water heater. That alone, like a
Oh,
water heater alone will make a huge impact on people's electric bill, because the biggest expense, or one of the biggest drivers for your electric bill, is the hot water heater.
mhm.
That's one of the things that
So
causes, you know, that
you're
has
saying
price.
what?
Say what?
I'm taking a note. You said what kind of water heater?
Like an energy efficient water heater, like a smart water heater.
And would that be electric as well?
No, I mean, it's electric. You plug it into the electric, because you don't have solar panels. You plug it into electric, but it's a smart heater. So it reduces it saves on the energy. Because if you get like a regular water heater, the amount of money that the electricity that it costs to keep you hot. Because think about it, you got a hot water and you use the hot water, and the thing's got to turn on to heat up to keep it full, right? Because the tank, the hot water in the tank is hot. That's what's hot, right? It's coming when you turn the
Mhm.
water on. It comes from the tank. So if you're taking a hot shower, like, it's once the water goes out, there's no more hot water. You got to wait until the water heats up. So that thing is going on constantly. It's on. So it costs a lot of money. So you could start just as simple as that, $2,500, and get a energy efficient water heater, and you put it in the mortgage over 30 years. $2,500 is going to be nothing,
Mhm, mhm.
and you're going to save, just that alone will save you 75, 50, $75 a month for on your electric bill, just doing that little kind of thing, right?
Mhm.
FHA, like a 2 or 3K, or a Fannie for that, right? Either loan. But when Origin Point, we have access to the 2 or 3K, I'm going to start offering that to buyers as, hey, do you want to buy a house, get the solar panels? Because when they finance through the company, it'll be more expensive. If you put it in the mortgage over 30 years, number one, it's over 30 years. Number two, you get the tax deduction, right? Because it's part of
Mhm.
your mortgage payment, so you can reduce your interest payments on your taxes. So you get that
Yeah.
little added extra benefit, and it'll probably be lower. The financing will probably be lower than if you go to the solar panel company through the financing. And
Yeah.
you can
It's
build that. You
it's
can build the panels into the cost of the house, and you do a 2 or 3K loan. So you'll have the consultant. They come in, they set everything up, and people will be set up properly. So you can buy your house and put the electric bill into your mortgage, and know that you're not gonna you won't have an electric bill kind of going forward.
mhm.
That's a huge position to put yourself in as a home buyer, especially with, I mean, energy costs have in Florida, they have risen 20% in the last 3 years. And it's going to continue rising because they're like in Florida, right? Can only talk for where the other states are different. You know, some are more expensive, and like here, they have to, the biggest cost is the delivery. They charge you for the delivery of energy from other states. And so it's expensive. I mean, it's just, it's going up, right? It's just, you have no control over it, and you have to pay the electric bill. I mean, it goes up, it goes up, it goes up 20%. Oh, well, you got to pay the electric. I mean, you can't.
Yeah.
So this is a way of, number one, being set up and assuring yourself that, if gas goes up. And I mean, I don't know. I'm not
Yeah,
a, I'm not a prepper.
what I tell my clients when they ask me about solar, what my thoughts are on it, I say this, imagine, all right, your electric bill fluctuates every year. It's higher in the summer than it is in the winter. When you get those surprises over the summertime, right? Because the kids are home for 2 months out of the year, 24/7. They're wanting to stay cool because it's hot. You're gonna have those peaks, those peak payments, right? Versus if you finance the solar panels, you have one steady payment all year round. And then in some cases, you get that credit back from the utility companies. And at worst case scenario, you're paying anywhere between $10 to $15 to $25 a month outside of your payment.
You get a tax rebate, man.
And you get the tax rebate.
You get a tax rebate. Like I got 28K tax credit for my panels, and I got 15K for my 7,500 for each vehicle. Tax credit.
Tax credit. And if you don't need all that tax credit, it rolls over.
You can carry it over.
The next, my gosh. We need to have
it's free money, man. I got a
conversation about that.
100%. But it's the tax credits, that's not a forever thing, right? You got to act now. That's what the government is issuing right now. That's what's there. You got to utilize it. That's what it's there for.
The incentives. Yeah.
But 28.5, that was my tax credit for my panels this year. When I got the original, I forgot what the number was. 12 something. I could go back and find it. The first set, I got a tax credit for those, and then this other set, I got a tax credit for that. And then I got the 2 cars. I got them on both. I got both cars delivered in December. It was all planned, right? It's all, I planned the whole thing from March when I got the cars. I got both cars. Mine was delivered the beginning of December. My son's was, and I was really trying to get it delivered in 2022 so I could utilize, because that's the strategy I use, right? With the tax credits, right? I had a plan. So, it came in, and I was really like, literally, I got it December 30th. That's when we got the car on December 30th. Like literally I had 2 days left before the year is over so I can use, because I had to get the car delivered before. If not, I have to wait for this year for the tax credit. So my plan, the plan I had was, that's what I got, 28.5 for the panels and 7,500 for each car, 15 grand. It's 43 grand, 43.5 in tax credit is, I mean, how do you say no to that? Like,
yeah,
it's free money.
Yeah. That's almost.
I mean, it's not free money. It's my money because I pay taxes. I work, right? They took it out of my paycheck. So, but thank you very much, Mr. President. I'll take that.
Uncle Sam.
You know what I mean? I mean, it's because money is made, like money is made for people that know how to know its rules and knows how to utilize it. So you got to be aware, and you got to be in the game. I mean, the government's going to give you money. You got to take that money from you got to take it. Because if you don't, it's just somebody. I mean, you just don't. You lose it. It's just not. So, energy, man.
I saw something. Bob Proctor said, money money goes to where it's received, and where it's received well, and it stays where it feels welcome. So yeah, that's pretty interesting. We definitely got to get on with a tax specialist to discuss those
Who can
benefits.
give right the more? Because I don't.
We should probably have a we should have a 4-way conversation with a solar person and a tax specialist to see how we can better inform our audience on how all that ties in, because on a deeper level we can talk about how to finance a home that already has both scenarios, already has solar panels or could have solar panels, right? And then the purchase of a home, which I've experienced, where solar panels are being leased versus owned. So
That's a no. That's a that's no
you,
bueno.
yeah, because most people don't know that you have to qualify on a separate occasion, or I don't on a separate scenario for the solar panels if they're leased.
Correct.
So you
At
have to
least
qualify for the
leases are paying.
home.
Yeah.
Yeah, you have to qualify for the home, and then you have to qualify for the payment. And the terms for those solar panels tend to be more stringent than the qualification requirements for the loan, the financing of the home.
And they're not. And I'm throwing some general information because I don't have any specifics or details, right? So, but in general, in talking with my son, you know, they're working currently at a community that it was, you know, new community, right? New builds. So the builders, they included the panels, they're leased. You know, all these people bought homes, they have panels, they're all leased.
Yeah, and they tend to only have like 75% coverage.
They only have a little bit less coverage. We're just about to get number one, they're not 100% off. It's a little bit of coverage. And number two, like he was telling me, like it is crazy expensive what they charge for kilowatt. And these poor people had no idea like that they were getting, I mean, not screwed. That's not the proper word to use, but they were just paying a lot more than they should be paying because it's a lease. So the kilowatt, you know, the per kilowatt was super high, super high. So it just, you know, it makes more sense, you know, get rid of those and, you know, replace them and stop the lease and put the panels in.
Absolutely.
So it's leasing is definitely much more expensive.
Yeah. So yeah, that's gonna be for a future episode.
Let's plan it. So
alrighty then. So that's what we got for you guys today. Robert Morillo with Team Aroa at Compass, Florida. License number BK 33735443. Let them know, John.
John Sepulveda, the origin point, and MLS 1309244. Talk to you tomorrow, guys.
We'll talk tomorrow.